Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Teresa Castro, and I'm a proud alumna and staff member in UNC's Office of Alumni Relations. Thank you all for joining us today for the Alumni Career Panel, Careers in Law, Policy, and Justice. Today, we will learn from and connect with fellow UNC Bears working in this industry. Before I introduce you to our panelists, I would like to share a couple housekeeping items. First, this event will be recorded and will be available on demand a week after today on the alumni website. I will post a link in the chat. Two, I invite you all to start building your network and reach out to our panelists after this event. I will also share their contact information in the chat towards the end of this virtual event. And lastly, I will go off screen after introductions and will return towards the end of the event to provide a closing statement. As we highlight the careers of these alumni, I invite students, fellow staff, and faculty to ask questions via the Q&A feature. Now, please help me welcome our panelists. Panelists, please introduce yourself by stating your name, pronouns, title, the organization you work for, your UNC degree, and a little bit about yourself. Vanessa, we'll start with you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Vanessa Gonzalez. I graduated in 2021 with a bachelor's degree of criminal justice and a minor in psychology. I currently am a legal assistant at Taft, Titinius, and Hollister. A little bit about me is I love being outdoors, so I really enjoy living here in Colorado, and I love spending time with my dogs.
Thank you, Vanessa. And Cheryl, how about we go to you next?
Good afternoon. My name is Cheryl Saavedra, and I'm a 1989 graduate of UNC. I am currently residing in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I am a New Mexico native, and I attended high school in Denver and then college at UNC, and then eventually made my way to Colorado State. I loved Colorado very much, but it was very cold. I am the managing partner of a law firm called Peak Legal Group here in Albuquerque. I practice law with my husband, who is also an adoption and assisted reproductive technology attorney, and I do contested custody, divorce, and guardian ad litem work.
Thank you, Cheryl. And Abdul.
Hello, everyone. My name is Abdul Saidi. I graduated from the University of Northern Colorado in 1996, bachelor's in social sciences, minor in criminal justice. I've been a Aurora police officer 22 years now. And in the spare time, when I do find it, I'd like to travel. So you'll find me somewhere in the world.
Yes, we love that. And Karen, why don't you close us out?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Karen Schweiss. I graduated in 2024 with my doctorate from the Counselor Education and Supervision Program. I currently work as the Director of Policy and Public Affairs for the 17th Judicial District Attorney's Office in Colorado. And that covers Adams and Broomfield counties. I will also be moderating our panel today. So let's get started. Our first question is, what certifications, training, or professional development opportunities have been particularly valuable to your growth in this field? Let's start with Cheryl.
Well, I'll tell you, my undergraduate degree was in journalism. And the reason that I selected journalism is because when I was in high school, I had decided that I wanted to be a lawyer, and I was working for the U.S. Attorney General's office at the time. And he said, get any degree. You can go to law school on any degree, but get a degree that will serve you in your law school career. And so obviously all lawyers do is read, write, and argue. So I felt a journalism degree would be the best route for me. And then I just focused my undergraduate career on not on developing a career out of my undergraduate degree, but in developing a graduate level law degree. And so everything was focused on being a lawyer from the moment I started my freshman year at UNC.
Thank you. And Abdul, what about you?
Well, for me, I believe some of the certificates that have really kind of helped me out in my line of work has been like advanced leadership courses, crisis intervention, and community engagement have been instrumental in doing the job that I do. They've really helped me strengthen those areas a little bit, and I think it just promotes a good environment for me or officers here in the Aurora Police Department to engage with the community that we serve.
Thank you. And how about you, Vanessa?
Yeah, so in my career role, I have found that participating in different workshops that they offer help me a lot to just learn about more of the organization and how I can become more involved and just continue growing. Another thing that I have found helped me with that is mentorship, just finding a mentor or being a mentor. A good tip that I recently found was or heard was to find somebody that you find very inspirational and just let them be your mentor. They don't even have to know it, and you just like know that you're looking up to this person and they are providing you a lot of guidance. And I have found myself doing that, just looking up to people and just seeing things of how I can grow and develop myself. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Our next question is law, policy, and justice work often involve complex and bureaucratic systems. How do you manage those challenges while still advocating effectively for fairness and equity? Let's start with you, Abdul.
That's a great question. I think by focusing on transparency, I think that's huge. Communication, accountability. I think those are very important line of work that we're involved in. I think people want to know what's going on, and us not hiding behind a badge and getting ahead of it and trying to be more transparent with the community has been very positive feedback from them as well in some situations that we've been in. I think aligning ourselves with department core values that promote that kind of transparency, I think, has been a positive impact for us.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And how about you, Vanessa?
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest keys is just organization, making sure that you are very organized because it, the policies and procedures, they are always changing, and so just making sure that you're always on top of it, and asking questions to make sure that you are understanding what's going on, I think is very important.
Thank you. How about you, Cheryl?
Well, I would say that I think most people would agree that the practice of law in the court system is very complex and bureaucratic. I think that what makes a difference when you're operating in that system, because there are so many variables, is having a really high ethical and professional persona when you're representing your clients. You're appearing in front of multiple different judges and multiple different opposing counsels, and you're representing just a wide variety of people. And when you stand in the community as an attorney who is very professional and very ethical and is somebody that opposing counsel can trust and the judge can rely on the things that you represent on behalf of your client, then it breaks away that bureaucracy and you get to know people on a personal basis.
Thank you. I would say a similar answer to that is getting to know other people professionally and building your network is really how you actually make change within the system and work towards creating fairness and equity is by building those relationships and learning more and understanding more about how the system works, and then that helps you better advocate for change. Let's see, let's go to the next question. How do you ensure that your work remains accessible and equitable for the communities you serve, especially those who have historically faced barriers within legal or policy systems? We'll start with Vanessa.
Yeah, so the group that I work with actually is called Public Finance. And so we basically help legally raise and manage money through issuing bonds. And so one of the lawyers that I actually work with, he is a bond counsel for affordable housing. And to me, that kind of hits home in a little bit of a way because I grew up uh, in low income. And so I come to find out that he actually represents the company that, you know, growing up, my parents paid their mortgage to. And so just being able to be part of that, like behind the scenes work, just it is so meaningful to me that I can give back and see that these new communities that are being developed for low income housing, that I'm actually a part of. So I think that is very meaningful to me. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And how about you, Cheryl?
Well, I think that most state bars have a mandatory pro bono requirement. And so New Mexico has 50 hours. Every lawyer licensed in the state of New Mexico is required to donate 50 hours of pro bono service, or you have to pay the equivalent thereof. So I'm happy to report that I recently received the Volunteer Attorney Award of the Year from the Volunteer Attorney Program, because my firm, I have a very strong belief for the lawyers in my firm that we are required and committed to providing pro bono services. So we volunteer for the New Mexico Immigrant Law Center, for the Volunteer Attorney Program, for the pro bono services. We make it a part of our regular practice. And so it's not enough for us just to be a lawyer and creating a career. We actually have to create a better way for society. And the best way that we can do that is by providing pro bono service.
Thank you. And Abdul?
I think as an agency, we prioritize outreach work, education, and listening to what the community needs. I think that's been a huge factor, and especially in recruiting, because we wear so many different hats. We're not only looking for people to become police officers, we do a lot of the outreach work as well within the police department. And it's been a very interesting experience working in recruiting, because we touch on so many lives. It's not just the community that we serve, but we extend out to the metro area. We do it a lot with the nonprofit organizations, refugee centers, places that are helping out the immigrants, faith-based organizations. And I think all of this has helped us in communicating with the next generation of folks that are coming into the United States or growing up in this community, and knowing the expectation they should have from us as an agency and what we can provide for them. And I think that has built a lot of trust within that community, and it's been very positive.
Thank you. Let's move on to our next question. Collaboration is essential across law enforcement, policy, and legal professions. How have you built relationships and networks that support your work and career growth? And let's start with you, Cheryl.
Well, I think collaboration is a very important part of every profession. It's an important part of being a lawyer and being a member of the community, because 100% of our clients are referral based. We don't do any advertising, and all of our clientele is based on services that we've provided for other community members, pro bono work that we have done, or successful cases that we've litigated. And not only as a practitioner am I maneuvering my way through the legal system, but I'm also maneuvering my way through the community in order to be able to serve my client, because oftentimes they need therapy, they need financial aid, they need assistance, they need refinancing, they need mortgage assistance, they need child care. And it's about developing relations within the community so that not only can I draft the pleadings and appear in court for the benefit of my client, but I can find those resources for my client and for others that will serve their needs at the time.
Thank you. And Abdul, how have you built collaboration across different networks?
I have to piggyback Cheryl on this one, because it is very important. This line of work cannot be done just by ourselves, and collaboration is huge. And there's so many other vested interests within the city of Aurora, if not in our community, that we do need to work with. So I think collaboration begins with respect and shared purpose. It's very important to have that focus there. I think we built very strong partnerships with community organizations, community leaders, local schools, other public safety agencies. This all has enhanced our professional growth, but also built public trust. And I think that's the bigger aspect of it.
Thanks. How about you, Vanessa?
Yeah, I think for me, I guess being so new into the workforce, a lot of it has been stepping out of my comfort zone, and just going and attending these workshops at work and talking to people at work and networking with others in the office, that kind of like I aspire to be. So I've always wanted to be a lawyer. So my my first thought is to, let me go talk to these associates and see how their process was and how they're doing. And so just kind of building my network that way, letting myself be known that I'm here. And then I think a lot of it too is showing leadership, showing that, just because I'm so new into the workforce, I doesn't mean that I can't show leadership and that I'm not able to. So just making sure that just starting from the beginning, showing that leadership, I think is very important.
Thanks. I would say for my experience at the DA's office in Adams and Broomfield County, I think I'm particularly lucky to work for a district attorney who also understands all the different parts of the system, and that if we can focus on crime prevention and we can do all different interventions at different levels, that's better for our overall community than if we just focus on criminal prosecution. And so, why I'm saying all that is because I think the values that I carry are also shared throughout the organization where I work. And that allows me to do the things I want to do and work on the projects and collaborate. Another tip I would say, or thing I've picked up along the way, is I do volunteer work. And so that's shifted throughout my career. But at this point now, I sit on another nonprofit board that also then connects me through other types of work and other agencies that are doing important work, that ultimately all lead to crime prevention. But that definitely helps you build your network and grow who you know and what you learn. So for our next question, can you share a time when you faced a major professional or personal challenge in your role and how you maintained resilience through it? And Abdul, let's start with you.
Wow, 22 years. I have no idea. I can't focus it on one. There's been so many. I think in general, just to generalize, law enforcement comes with a lot of, emotional challenges. And I think maintaining balance through family and support and a mentorship and, just commitment to continuous learning has really helped me, kind of grow with that as well. And so I really can't, bring it to one focal point. There's been so many ups and downs in this 22-year career. It's hard to focus on just one.
Can I ask you then what makes you stick with it?
I
We
think
see a lot of law enforcement who don't want to do it anymore after 22 years, and you seem pretty happy about it.
I still take pride, right, in this, and I think every day is a reset button that we have an opportunity to make an impact or help another individual in the situations they're going through, and I think it gives you hope, just not losing sight of hope. There's a reason we got in this career, was for that reason, and it's to help another human being, and I think I just live to that every day that I have a chance to help somebody, and I think it still keeps me going after 22 years. I'm still hopeful.
It's very beautifully said. Thank you for
Thank
letting me push you too.
you.
How about you, Vanessa?
Yeah, so when I was getting close to graduating at UNC, I kind of was not sure what I wanted to do. I had done several internships and I just started getting really nervous about what my next steps were going to be. I decided to start my career off with something that has nothing to do with criminal justice. um, I think deep down I knew that I wanted to be, well, I still know that deep down I want to be a lawyer, but I'm the first generation, first in my family to go to school to graduate. So I kind of had like nobody to like guide me or steps to follow, examples to follow. So I started a career in insurance, and so couple years down that career, I decided, yeah, this is not what I want to do. Like, I'm not interested in this. And I was like, okay, this is my time to get into the legal field. And I think that's the challenge that I had was it was very difficult to get into this field. And I just I just trusted my gut, and I knew that this was something that I wanted to do and I wanted to get started with. And so I just didn't give up. I continued applying and I continued to better my resume until I finally got the position that I have now. And so once I did get here, I'm like, yep, like I'm here. This is what I want to do. So I think that's how it was, a very great feeling to overcome that rejection that I faced trying to change my careers.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you maintained resilience by just staying really focused on your goal and overcoming the hurdles along the way.
For
What
sure.
about you, Cheryl?
Well, if I think of the most professional and personal challenging thing that has occurred over the last few years, I would say it was COVID. COVID was particularly difficult, both professionally and personally. I was running a law firm, and so I had to manage lots of employees and their families and my own family's exposure to COVID, trying to manage clients, trying to manage our appearance in court, trying to just keep up with the flow of things while trying to maintain an office and then sometimes being isolated and having to work from home. It was extremely challenging to manage all of the little intricacies that COVID brought upon us, not just professionally, but personally. And, there were times when I didn't think that our nation would survive COVID. I mean, when the COVID rates were so incredibly high that I was very concerned for our own mortality. And I had lots of friends and colleagues that passed away during that time period. So I just remembered why I wanted to be a lawyer and why being a lawyer was important to me. And I just kept keeping on and I just kept working at it until, it finally came where the numbers were lower and lower and lower, and we were all back to work, and now we're all appearing back in court. We're still not completely out of the COVID era. There are still many restrictions. You still see people walking around with masks, and people are still dying from COVID. But I think that we as a nation survived, and that's important.
Thank you. Let's go to our next question. The fields of law, policy, and justice are constantly evolving. What changes or trends do you see emerging, and how can current students prepare for those shifts? Let's start with Vanessa.
Yeah, so at my current firm, I have noticed a lot of like system updates and changes and lots of technology going on. So I think my biggest advice is just always staying curious, always being willing to learn, and take technology classes that are offered as electives. I took a class my senior year that just went over Excel and Outlook and Microsoft and a bunch of other programs, and I to this day find it very beneficial, and I'm glad I did that. So yeah, just making sure that you always have an open mind and know that things are always evolving.
Thank you. And what about you, Cheryl?
Well, I'm going to say the big word, AI, artificial intelligence. And I think that artificial intelligence is creeping into everybody's industry. We as lawyers think that we will never be replaced by AI because it takes, the person-to-person contact in order to develop a relationship and articulate an argument to the judge. And we very foolishly think that AI will never take over what we do. And I think that that is possibly true, but I also think I heard recently in a conference a presenter whose position was that AI will not take over the legal industry, but the attorney or the practitioner who uses AI will take over those attorneys who do not. So it's important for us to be up with all of the technology. They're recently working on rules that prohibit lawyers from using AI to prepare pleadings to be submitted to the court and briefs to be submitted to the court. And there's been some recent Supreme Court opinions on, I don't think they're Supreme Court opinions, but recent opinions on attorneys who had used AI to submit pleadings to the court, and we have a duty of candor to the court, and that does not comply with our duty of candor. So I think it's all very interesting in how it's going to come about. It also comes around with our clients. For example, our clients will AI their own case and then send us what AI says we should do. We should file this motion, or we should file this pleading, we should respond in this way. And so it's very challenging it used to be Google, and now it's Chat GBT, for me to have to argue a case with Chat GBT as opposed to chatting with opposing counsel. It presents very interesting challenges every day in our practice.
Thank you. What about you, Abdul? What changes or trends do you see emerging, and or if you want to add on with AI and policing?
I mean, it's absolutely, I think the common theme here is technology. I think in our line of work, community-based policing has always been a forefront of policing in the past. And I think it was a profound statement that they came up with, and we went with it for such a long time. But technology is definitely taking over. It is an important part of what we do on a daily basis. Even as we're not a big department when you look at the bigger scheme of things in the United States, but having an 800 police officer department is pretty decent size, and having the territory that we cover is also a decent size. And the challenges come financially and finding other means to do policing, on a budget. And so I think with that being said, for us, we're utilizing drone programs heavily. Another thing that we did as a department that just came about here recently was a real-time crime center, where we do have a live feed from different locations within the city of Aurora, from traffic stop cameras and things of that nature, that we're watching crime happening in real life. And now we are the ones dispatching it before dispatch does, and letting the officers on the street know. So I think this really has impacted a lot. And as far as when we were talking earlier, as far as keeping up, I myself, as a matter of fact, signed up for the drone program so I can get my drone license through the department and utilize that and learn a little bit about it as a tool for recruiting. Same thing with the Real Crime Center. I'm scheduled to go in there hopefully one of these days for my training to learn how that process exactly works. So technology is big, and I think for students that are preparing for the future, I just say, just develop strong communication skills. Cultural awareness is important in this line of work or anything that we do as far as work goes, and just having a mindset for adaptability and just being able to adapt with the times. I think just not being stringent and staying in our own one goal focus. You just have to be a little bit open-minded.
Thank you. And I just found the questions in the chat, so we have a few more questions. Was there a moment when you realized this was the right career path for you? Let's start with Vanessa.
So at first, no, there wasn't the moment, and I was very kind of like, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm not content with just the job I was doing was so easy. Like I could do it with my eyes closed, but I didn't feel that like fulfillment from it. And so once I decided that I needed to go towards the path that I've always wanted to be in, um, even just being a legal assistant, I'm like, this is awesome. Like I look up to the lawyers I work for. I want to be like them. I want to work alongside them, at one point. And so it once I was able to get into the legal field, I'm like, yeah, I did it.
Awesome. Once you got a taste of it, you knew that's what you wanted to do. What
Exactly.
about you, Cheryl? Was
Um,
there a moment you realized this was the right career path for you?
Well, it's interesting because my undergraduate degree is in journalism, but I never worked in journalism. The closest I got to journalism was I was student editor of a UNC publication called Hispanic Horizons, that was based out of the Hispanic Cultural Center, which is now called the Cesar Chavez Cultural Center. And from the moment that I started undergrad, I knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. And what I didn't know is what type of lawyer that I wanted to be. And so I think a lot of times people go into law school with preconceived notions about what type of lawyer they want to be. For example, you hear pretty frequently people say, I want to be an international lawyer. Well, what does that really mean? We don't have, that's really a transactional lawyer. is an international lawyer, because we don't have international law per se. We have law based on contracts, we have law based on policies, we have law based on trade. And so I think that people have, these preconceived notions of what it means to be a lawyer. But I knew that I was in the right field, because I have always been interested in serving the needs of children. And so I'm a guardian ad litem. I represent children in most capacities. And that has been a primary part of my practice for the 35 years that I practiced. And at one point, I took a stint and did water law, if you can imagine that. And I almost fell asleep for 7 years, and then decided to come back and do family law and represent children as a guardian ad litem and do custody litigation. So when you feel that draw, when you feel that very personal and professional draw to the work that you're doing, that it creates a purpose, and it it creates just a feeling inside of you that you're doing the right thing for the right people for the right purposes, and you'll know it. You'll just know it.
Awesome. Thank you. What about you, Abdul? Was there a
Well,
moment when you realized it was the right career path?
yeah, thanks to UNC for going there. Because initially I was in UNC, I wanted to become a high school geography slash history teacher. And that was my focus when I came in my freshman year. And so taking elective classes, I ended up with a criminal justice class. And the professor wanted us to do a ride along. And I knew a Denver sergeant at the time where I used to work, they used to come in all the time and grab dinner. And so I did a ride along down in District 6, which is downtown Denver. And it was absolute mayhem. And I was like, wow, I love this. This is what I want to do. And I just ran with it. And I just changed my major and never looked back.
Awesome. Thank you. I could say with mine that I still haven't realized the right career path. I have started my master's program working as a mental health provider for youth in detention. And then I worked with adult offenders, and then I treated federal offenders, adults, and then I worked in child welfare. And then I went back for my PhD. And then I started the Boulder Strong Resource Center after the mass shooting in Boulder, Colorado. And that's when I started to meet district attorneys. And I started working then in my office with what's called the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, which is where all the different agencies work together to improve the systems. And then I recently moved into the Director of Policy and Public Affairs, working on legislative issues. So I just kind of follow what seems interesting and move around. And so far, I've been pretty happy with all the opportunities I've gotten and the things I've been able to see. So there are all kinds of options. All right, next question. I'm majoring in criminal justice, but I'm still not totally sure what direction I want to take. How did you figure out where you fit within such a big field? And let's go to Vanessa.
I did a lot of internships when I was in my undergrad. I thought I wanted to be a probation officer when I was in undergrad. I did multiple internships with the Greeley probation department, and I think I just went back because I really enjoyed what I was doing with them, the case management and that stuff. But deep down, I was like, I don't think probation officer is exactly what I want to do. So then I did another internship with the public defender's office. I was kind of like an investigator for them. I would call and uh, gather like witness testimonies and different things like that. And I was like, I don't really want to be like calling people, and like just I just did a lot of internships, and I just figured out, what I wanted to do. And for me, I've always wanted to be a lawyer, but I just never knew what that took or kind of the process of that. So I kind of was just trying different things and seeing if I liked it or not, and just not being afraid to get out of my comfort zone.
think that's great advice. Thank you. What about you, Abdul?
I think for me personally, I did, just like Vanessa says, internships were huge. I did my first internship at the Will County Jail, and I realized I do not want to be cooped up. I cannot stay in a locked setting. It just was not for me. That was a very difficult internship. My second internship was with Denver Juvenile Courts, and I worked the juvenile court system in Denver, and that offered me my first job right after graduation, and that opened doors in the field of criminal justice after college. So internships are big. I think it gives you a good insight on how the company or the organization or the agency operates. Is it a good fit? You know, a lot of times we just want to get into the front door, and I say yes, that's a great focus. You just want the job, but make sure where you do end up, that's a good fit for you as much as it is for the agency to hire you. And as any more, my advice is, you know, if you're not sure as a career, it's okay. You don't have to have it all figured out afterwards. You know, you don't need to do this for 30 years, like what we're trying to do. Do it for 5. And I think that's a good indicator because it takes that long to learn a job very proficiently, especially in a line of work law enforcement goes. You get a lot of training in that 5 years. And then at the end of the 5 years, you have to kind of assess to yourself, is this a good fit for me? Am I being appreciated? Am I being valued by my agency? Am I being challenged? And am I making an impact or a difference in the community that I'm serving? And if all those are yes, then you stay on. And if any of those are no, then you reevaluate and try to find some other focus and maybe move on to a different career path that'll open up for you.
Really, concept of just give it a try. Even Cheryl did water law for 7 years and came
Absolutely.
back around. So what about for you, Cheryl? With
Well,
such a big field, how do you know which direction to take?
ironically, my minor is in criminal justice. And so I think criminal justice, criminology, sociology, psychology, those are, in my opinion, stepping stone degrees. That there are an insane amount of attorneys in law school, I mean, students in law school that have a criminal justice degree. It's probably one of the most common degrees that people use to get into law school. Criminal justice, criminology, sociology, psychology, probably those 4. And a lot of all 4 of those degrees really lend themselves to secondary degrees, PhDs, and doctorates. And so I think that they they're such intellectual degrees that they don't really lend themselves to everyday employment because they're really sort of the cusp of of a secondary degree. And that's my experience when I was at UNC and with the students that I've mentored since my graduation is typically with those degrees, they lend themselves to a secondary degree where you become a doctor, where you become a lawyer, where you become a psychologist, where you become a psychiatrist. And so don't stop with an undergraduate degree is my advice. If you've come this far, it takes very little to acclimate to a secondary degree that will make a million and one difference in terms of the jobs that you're qualified for with that second degree.
Thank you. I like this next question we have also. I think this comes up a lot, and most of us have probably felt it. For students who don't have connection in the field, what are some realistic ways to find internships or opportunities to get experience? Would anyone like to start us off?
Well, I think the resounding response has been internships. It's very, very important to do internships and clerkships. And so it's just a matter of, finding an area and where you're interested, or even cold calling people. If you're, cold calling the city of Greeley and say, what internships do you have available? Or the county, or the sheriff's department, or the police department, or the local newspaper and saying, what internships do you have available? Everything will come to you but it won't come to you without you seeking it in the first place. So, making those connections and putting yourself out there. People love to help students. They absolutely love to help students. I've never had a student apply to my office as an intern and not either taken them myself or help to place them someplace else. It's just everybody wants to help students be successful. And I think that includes all facets of society. So just put yourself out there.
I
Go ahead.
with it, Cheryl. I remember when I was looking for internships, I think UNC had some type of resource where they list all different agencies and companies that want to have UNC students as interns. And I think that's how I found several of mine. But I would say just, try to participate in as many internships as you can, give it your all. And that is your almost your very first baby step into building your network. I throughout my jobs, I had people, supervisors at internships, be my provide me letters of recommendation so I can get a job. So that was all very, very awesome, and kind of a great feeling, to know that I made an impact and they want to give that letter of recommendation for me so I can grow as an adult. So
Yeah, and I think, for me, as far as having not a direction where to start, come to a job fair. The campus always has a job fair in the fall and the spring. Come with a resume and come with a smile, and just ask each one of these agencies or businesses that you're interested in, and ask them if they are taking any internships. And I think that's a great start. That's how I did with mine, with Denver Juvenile Court. They were there one time, and I approached them and I said, "Hey, I'm just looking for an internship. I'm not ready to graduate yet. I still got another 6 months to go." And they said, "Oh yeah, definitely, we have an internship to offer." And so I just come to one of the job fairs, and if nowhere else, at least start there.
We're actually in my office working on a website, on our normal website that we keep open all the time for internships for different law students, but then also within each agency, some of the different criminal justice agencies are huge and there are all different types of positions. So, for example, within a DA's office, there's opportunities to work in victim witness, to work as a legal assistant, to work with a paralegal, to work with our investigations team, to work with the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. There are all different bachelor's level internship opportunities as well. And so with the other agencies, I think Cheryl named, like if you look at the sheriff's office or the jail, there's all different types of positions within some of these agencies. And so if you just ask, you may learn a lot more about that place and what the other opportunities are. Here's one more question. I'm looking to work with juveniles. I'm currently volunteering with CASA. Does anyone have any suggestions on where to go?
Well, CASA is so CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate, and CASA is a program where the court appoints somebody to assist children and represent children. They have lots of classes and lots of cooperative programs. As a guardian ad litem, I work with CASA quite a bit. But if you're interested in working with juveniles, I actually think programs like the Big Brothers Big Sisters program is an awesome program. It's such a long-standing historical program in our nation that builds, youth to higher education, also Upward Bound, Talent Search. Every university in Colorado, I actually worked for Talent Search for a short period of time while I was waiting to go to law school when I graduated from UNC. And all of the major universities in Colorado have either an Upward Bound or a Talent Search program. And so those are amazing opportunities to work with juveniles, all the way up from middle school to university level. And I think that those are, or the YMCA. I don't know if they still have YMCA's. If they still have YMCA's, I think those are great opportunities as well. But I think that our nation celebrates supporting children. And so we have more agencies that are in the business of supporting children than probably anything. And so I think if you won't have to look very far in order to find one.
I was thinking of the juvenile assessment centers. Each county has their own juvenile assessment center or judicial district, I should say. And so I know there's Weld County, there's one in Larimer. They go all the way down around. They're called juvenile assessment centers, and then they typically have a different name based on the location of it. And then there's also juvenile diversion programs, juvenile probation. There's all different ways to work if you wanted to work with juvenile offenders. There's also different ways to work with child crime victims if you wanted to work in child welfare or in other government agencies like that. Keep to mind. Does anyone else have anything to add on that question?
I think for us, the biggest trend that I'm seeing in law enforcement is a lot of things are going civilian, where it's not just only focused on police officers doing the job. So, for example, we started with initially with clinicians working with patrol officers working the road. And that was something that came about under Chief Metz back in 2015, and it started evolving from there. Currently, like a year and a half or so ago, we have civilian crash investigators that are doing that. Where in the past, recruiting was involved with community outreach, like I said earlier, but now we have a whole unit called Community Resource Section, and they have a lot of civilians working within that unit, but their focus is on different segments. It could be faith-based, it could be juveniles, it could be minors, it could be immigrants, it could be refugees. So there's a plethora of different assignments within that one unit, and a lot of them are not police officers. They're civilians working for the police department, doing a lot of the outreach work that we used to do in recruiting, but now we kind of handed that torch off to them and they're doing it. So there's opportunities within the police department as a civilian to come in and do youth mentoring, youth outreach.
Some of the police departments have, it's like not a cadet program, but they do like a citizens academy, but for youth, right?
Yes,
Maybe in
we
the
have the
summers?
Explorer program for
Yeah,
high school age kids, and then the ones that are graduating high school, we started our cadet program about a year ago now. And
it is
so the
cadet.
cadet
Okay.
program, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Next question. What role do you think younger professionals can play in changing outdated systems? Do you have any
Well,
thoughts on that, Vanessa?
I think I think we can play a big role in there, and just like I said earlier, just making sure that you stay curious and open to learn. Um I at work, I have coworkers that have been working there for many years, and I figure out a shortcut to something that they had such a long procedure to, and I'm like, hey, like, let's try it this way. I found out this way, like I just shortened this task from an hour to just 15 minutes, like, and being able to collaborate. I think collaboration is a big part of it, because if you can find something, it's important to share it and make sure that things can improve.
Yeah. I think I officially no longer identify as a young professional, and I really enjoy when the young professionals teach me those shortcuts. Would
yes,
it
for
be
sure.
about you, Abdul or Cheryl?
Cheryl, I'll leave that for you.
Well, I think sometimes the older generation are creatures of habit, and
Mhm.
so it's difficult to teach them new ways. But a lot of them who are in that position aren't, um, they tend to be in supervisor positions, so they're not doing the work. And my opinion is however you can do the work most efficiently and effectively is the way that you should do it. I give my staff complete autonomy to do what needs to be done, and I'm not going to micromanage them on how it needs to be done. They know much better than I the technology, even though I don't consider myself that old. But if you don't have an employer that allows you to work for them the most effectively, then that's probably not the best employer for you. And then my second recommendation is own your own business. If you own your own business, you get to decide how to do things.
Thank you. We had a comment that says there's a program at UNC called Handshake, and they send emails for students to be able to apply in all different types of opportunities. So I've heard our HR team talk about Handshake, but I don't know how to use it. Hopefully, that's an opportunity that's helpful for students. And let's go to our final question. As we wrap up, can you each provide a word of advice for UNC Bears currently seeking a career within this field? Let's start with you, Cheryl.
Well, I think the most important skill that you can have in pursuit of being a lawyer is self-discipline. It's a long 7 years. It's an even longer 7 years if you take more than 4 years to get your undergraduate degree. So it's you have to be very self-disciplined within that time period. And particularly law school is based on your ability to self-motivate. No one there is going to be cheering you on and helping you to graduate because it's an older generation of students by that time, by the time you get to law school. So if you can maintain your own self-discipline, your own motivation, your own enthusiasm, and your own drive and desire, that's what's going to get you to the bar exam, and that's what's going to get you to, wearing that cap as they hand you your degree, in order to become a lawyer.
What about for you, Abdul?
I say lead with integrity and stay teachable. Never lose the sight of why. You have a why you went to college, what you want to accomplish. Don't lose sight of that why. Always stay focused and keep striving to find it. Service to others is a responsibility, but it's also a privilege.
Yes.
And if that's the route you take, I think it'll definitely give you a lot of fulfillment. And I think you'll, answer a lot of that void that you may have as a student sitting in college right now. So approach it with humility and dedication.
Thank you. And how about you, Vanessa?
I would say enjoy every moment of being in college because I absolutely miss being a student in my undergrad degree. But besides that, I think it's very important for you to be involved and step out of your comfort zone and just start networking because those networks that you make, connections that you make are just so important and they last such a long time and it's very important. So yeah.
And I would add just being curious. That kind of tracks with my career, but I follow what I'm interested in and I work hard at whatever it is I'm trying to do. And I think looking back at all the opportunities I've had, I think that served me very well to just follow what I'm passionate about and keep working at learning new things.
Thank you all so much. Thank you to our panelists, our moderator, and to all of you for joining us today. It is always an honor and a pleasure to host fellow Bears and hear about their UNC experience, unique identities, career paths, and industry insights. Throughout the semester, we're actually hosting just one more, November 20th, the last alumni career panel of the semester. You can learn more about it by visiting www.unco.edu/alumni/careers. And before we end, we have our colleagues over from the Center for Career Readiness who will share a little bit of insight into their resources.
Hi, everyone. My name is Idalia Olivas. I use she, her pronouns, and I graduated from UNC May 2025 with a bachelor's degree of arts in psychology and minoring in criminal justice and criminology. And I am a current master's student for rehabilitation counseling as well. I am one of the graduate assistant career counselors at the University of Northern Colorado, here at the Center for Career Readiness. Here for the center itself, with all the things career, while you are a current student on campus and as well as 3 years after you graduate, we are here to provide resources. Our office connects UNC Bears to quality on-campus community and national employers throughout career tools such as Handshake mentioned earlier, and hosting on-campus career fairs each semester. We actually have one coming up pretty soon named KED for educational people. And as well as students are encouraged to schedule an appointment with our career counseling team for resume, cover letter reviews, job internship and grad school search support, as well as mock interviews, networking tips, and more. We offer drop-in hours Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11:30 to 1:30, as well as job fairs and workshops throughout the semester. For further information on all of this can be found on our website, unco.edu/career, or you're welcome to email us at career.readiness@unco.edu. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Idalia. And thank you again so much for being here. It was such a great conversation. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And really quickly before we end, on a count of three, we're going to do a little Go Bears, okay? 1, 2, 3. Go Bears! Thank you. Have a great evening, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.